Thank you. I now recognize for 5 minutes Ms. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to our witnesses for being here today. While it is important to discuss student loan issues, I'm concerned about the fact that our students are having to take out so many loans because not only the cost of education has increased so dramatically, but the investment in education by our states and also the applicability or the usefulness of Pell Grants has declined in terms of what it covers for costs. So I'd like to start, Mr. Gadkari, you noted in your testimony the declining value of Pell Grants for students. And I believe in 1978, a student attending a public four-year university could have had about 70 to 80% of their costs covered with their Pell Grant. And today, that same Pell Grant only covers about 30% of their costs. So that is one reason why our students are having to take out so much more in student loans. Can you tell us what has driven this devaluation over the years, and how can Congress responsibly ensure that over the long term, Pell Grants keep pace with inflation, with the rising cost of college, so that our students don't have to take out overwhelming student debt?
Representative, thank you for the question. I'd first want to note that there would be great value in indexing the Pell Grant so that it goes up and keeps pace with college costs. I also want to note that my organization, alongside 100 others, called for doubling the Pell Grant. And I think those are important steps that we can take to increase affordability and reduce the reliance on debt.
Thank you for that. I believe we had a proposal out to double the Pell Grant, and last term the Pell Grant was increased by about $500, which doesn't do a lot more to cover the cost of education for our students. I want to move on to, I am hearing over and over from my constituents that they are having trouble attracting people into the fields of teaching, into the fields of nursing, into fields that are critically important but are not high pay areas. And one of the ways that we can be incentivizing people to go into those important areas is to help them with their student loans. And I know that Congress created the Public Student Loan Forgiveness Program to help encourage students to do exactly that, to enter public service fields. But over the last few years, as people had paid in their 10 years thinking that they would get forgiveness for their loans, it turned out that that program was not as effective as it was supposed to be. We know now that that the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program needs significant reform so that people who should be getting their loans forgiven are having their loans forgiven. And I'm hearing that from advocates across a wide variety of fields. So what can we be doing to make sure that those types of loans are forgiven appropriately? And how can Congress ensure that loan servicers are accountable for spreading accurate information about the PSLF?
Yeah, so on the first question on PSLF, I'll note that the administration worked, one of its targeted fixes to the servicing system was to address some of the inconsistencies in terms of what payments were applied to PSLF historically. And that's why they created this PSLF waiver, and they've created a new rule to be more consistent going forward around PSLF forgiveness. On the second question, I would particularly note the need for resources for the Office of Federal Student Aid, which handles all of the servicing, as a way to support the resources that are needed to create consistency in servicing and servicing oversight.
Thank you. Let me go back to some work that your organization has done in the accountability space, and the negative impact of low-quality for-profit institutions on both students and taxpayers. I'd love to hear more about the need for increased accountability of low-quality institutions. Can you tell us how Congress and the administration can continue to hold these institutions accountable for their predatory and harmful practices?
Yes. The first and most important thing is reinstating the gainful employment rule. which created a measure of debt to earnings and cut off those programs that created a lot of debt for limited earnings gains. When that rule was in place, 98% of the programs that failed were at for-profit colleges, although there were more programs that were captured under the aegis of the rule in other sectors. And I would note that for-profit colleges accounted for 50% of loan defaults, although they are only 10% of the enrollments.
Thank you very much. My time has expired. I yield back.